In today's live stream, I'm going to be going over some of the new features of Ecamm Live 4.0. Obviously, I've released a big video that covers absolutely everything just yesterday. So I'm not going to go over everything. It's not going to be a repeat of that. But I just want to really dig into a little bit more depth into some of the things that I'm personally really liking and how I'm using them and the sort of use cases of them. So it's a bit more of a deep dive into just a few of the features. Namely, that would be how we can use Ecamm Live now to basically the interface changes, I should say, first of all. So some of the things that I like about that in terms of the tweaks that have been made and the improvements, but then how we can use Ecamm Live to build out scenes. And it's a lot more streamlined now, in my opinion, in terms of how you can quickly build out these things, but also how you can build out scenes for other people and work with other people and collaborate now using Ecamm. So we're talking about that. Then widget overlays. This is not necessarily actually one of my favorite features. However, I didn't really do a great job of explaining it in my video because I was on a 4K display. It was really sort of zoomed out, so maybe some of the detail was lost. So I'm going to go over widget overlays again. And then next, I'll be talking about Stream Deck and some of the new buttons that have been added there and how I'm using those in a sort of practical sense. So that is the idea of today. And so we'll start off with some of the interface changes and which of those are my favorites. The first one actually is something that I think was also Dina Taylor's favorite. So one of my fellow creators in the Creators Pod. If you're not already following that, then definitely check out the Creators Pod. I'll leave a link in the chat and in the description to that as well. So that's me and some fellow creators, and we get together every week to mastermind, but then we also have a podcast about that. And we were talking about Ecamm Live in the most recent episode, so you can check that out in that link there. And one of her favorite features, though, was also one of mine, which is the fact that we can now resize the main Ecamm window. So if I just come into my demo mode, I've got things all over the place at the moment, but let me just come in here. So it's this thing of the main Ecamm window. When you are actually designing in Ecamm, previously there was this maximum size to the window, and it was something like on my screen, it was something like about that. And when you want to actually do some, layouts and design and stuff like that, it's a lot better if you can see more of it. So and I think that this is something that I don't even know if it's in the release notes as such for the main Ecamm 4, but it's this fact that you can now make the main Ecamm window as big as you need it to be. So I know also other people, and myself included, we use the Ecamm main window sometimes on our teleprompter if we're not using the sort of video monitor output. And so if you are going to do that to sort of save space on your other display, then having this being able to fill the monitor, I've just moved it across and you can't see it, but having this being able to fill the monitor is a really useful little feature. So I do really like that aspect of it. The other thing about the interface which has been improved is this camera switcher. Now, we're talking about that in the next section about scene building, because this has got so many different features that are really useful for all the things I'm going to talk about then in terms of working with other people and building scenes. But it's the fact that also we can get rid of the camera switcher which was on this screen. So if I come into Ecamm Live preferences, go into general, and maybe here's the point where I should be zooming, then you've got this one here, show camera switcher in main window. So if I turn that one on, this little camera switcher down the bottom here, this is the one that we've always used to have. But the thing is, it only really applies when you've got scene source as a camera, whereas generally I start with a scene source as blank, and so then in that sense this is pretty much redundant if you're just going to be adding in camera overlay. So the ability to turn that off is great, although when I mentioned that, they did actually take that out. So now if you do have a scene source as blank, this disappears in any case. So if I was to just flick over to scene source as let's unlock the scene, change the scene source to blank. So this camera switcher, you'll notice that now, if you have scene source as blank, it actually doesn't show up. Same if you have a screen share as the scene source. It doesn't. This looks weird because I'm sharing Keynote here as well. But if you were just sharing a blank desktop, then the camera switcher also disappears then. So it makes sense that they've done that. But yeah, the ability to just hide this completely in here is something that I really like, because for me that just gets in the way. And also now with the new camera switcher down here, this is something that is redundant as well. The other thing in terms of the interface that I'm liking, although you don't see it right now and I haven't hooked up my second computer, is the fact that we've got this new way of selecting whether you want to stream, whether you want to record, or whether you want to use virtual camera, and just being able to toggle on and off any combination of those things as well. And the reason I like that method of doing it is because it means that you can actually, majority of the time that I'm using Ecamm, I'm actually using the virtual camera. That's really useful because it means it gets rid of all those other interface elements, and namely just, the record button. It means you're not inadvertently going to hit record as well if you didn't want to. But it just, I think, makes it a lot more sort of tidy in terms of the general look of it. So that is, there's not a huge amount more sort of aesthetic changes that have been made to the thing, but just the general way that it's working now is a lot more sort of logical to me. I suppose one other thing that has been changed as well is the actual preferences. So you'll notice that this is now a lot sort of different to the way it was before, in terms of before we had a button in the preferences for things like LinkedIn, Facebook, all the different platforms. Now those have just all been moved into destinations. So this is where you can set up destinations for your multi-streaming. They've also moved recording into its own separate menu because now they've sort of consolidated everything to do with recording into here. So for example, ISO audio was previously in the audio section, whereas now that they've added in ISO video, then it is in here as well with that. So a few other little minor changes to the menus. What else did they add in? They added something else in, I'm forgetting now, but yeah, there was a couple of other little minor things that they've added in here. This one, remote control. Do you know what? Yesterday, I actually finally uninstalled my loop deck. So if you want to revoke access to anything that's got control of Ecamm, you can just uncheck it there. So I actually deleted the app and everything. I had a complete refresh of my computer and trying to get rid of things that were maybe hogging my processor and stuff like that. So Loop Deck was one of the ones to go. With the new functionality that we've got with Stream Deck, which we'll be talking later, it was a little bit redundant. So hi, Johan. Great to see you here. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, the beta. Well, it's this. We're right now in that sweet spot where the beta and the regular Ecamm 4 release are finally in sync. So I wonder how long it'll be and what the new features are to come. I mean, I'm still buzzing with all the stuff we've got in this, but if you've been on the beta program, all of this kind of stuff we've got isn't new. So I'm still thinking like, I wonder what's going to be in 5, but I'll save my my enthusiasm and excitement for that till later. Hi, Richard. Great to see you here. Hope you're enjoying version 4 as well. And hello, Speak of the Devil, Dina. We're just talking about your favorite feature on our podcast that we're talking about, the rescaling of the main window. And hey, Rob, great to see you here as well. I'm just trying to think, what was your favorite feature of Ecamm? I think it was probably, was it Virtual Cam? Was that the one you mentioned on our podcast episode? My mind's gone blank. And hey, Gretchen, great to see you here as well. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. The Creators Pod podcast, we were all meeting up, having our mastermind sessions for, I suppose it was about 6 or 8 months, was it, before we actually started the podcast. And we thought, you know what, these are really valuable, and we should probably be sharing these with with other people as well. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying that, Gretchen. Thanks. And another P is here from the Creators Pod. Hey, Michelle, great to see you as well. So the next thing then on my my list of things to talk about would be what is it now? Scene building. So this is something that has been, I suppose, enabled by the camera switcher. So there's a couple of really great features that I love in the camera switcher that are all related to building out scenes, and especially if you are collaborating with people as well. So let's talk about the camera switcher a little bit, because it is to me one of the highlight, sort of 4 highlight features. So if I come into this view a minute. It's always like I have to talk to myself to tell me what I'm going to do, but there you go. I'm going to move the scenes window over here, and I'll move the overlays window over here as well. I'll just close down some of these things so that there's a bit more room for you to see what's going on. There we go. So the camera switcher then is more than just a camera switcher. Obviously, you can use it for switching the camera that you're on. So I'm on this camera at the moment, but I could just switch to that one. So just as we can switch cameras with the regular camera switcher. If you're using scene source as camera, then it works in that way. And this is one case where I am actually using scene source rather than building up a scene from scratch. But let's go and start to build a scene from scratch with just a blank scene to start with. I'll just make this a little bit smaller. And then I'll stick this up here so that we've got a little bit more space, and I'll zoom in a little bit more. I've been guilty of not zooming too enough. So I'll move that down there. Right. So if we have another scene, and I'm going to call this scene 1. And then we're starting with a blank scene. So let's say that we want to have a scene that is maybe my camera. The thing that I love about it is you can just drag and drop cameras onto the scene like that. So I can drag and drop this camera over here. Obviously way too small, move it like that. And let's say I wanted to do something with my top-down shot. I could just drag that onto the scene as well. It's upside down at the moment, but we can fix that. One thing I like about the camera switcher now as well is that you can easily get into the camera settings for any camera by hitting this little sort of magic wand icon, and that is going to load up the camera effects window. Now I'm zoomed in, so I can't see where it is. Let me just zoom out a second. It's obviously appeared completely off screen somewhere that I don't want it. I'll zoom back in again. Like that. So yeah, the ability to just basically select the camera and bring up the camera effects for that particular camera is great. A nice little shortcut. I often found myself thinking that I was adjusting one camera and then realizing I was adjusting the other, because previously we'd have to come in here and change it. So the ability to just be able to click on the camera that you want to adjust is really useful. And so in here you can just rotate the camera. So let's say I want my top-down camera the right way around. And then build out the scene this way. I'm not going to make anything too pretty. I'm just sort of showing the point, really. I'll bring that one to the front like that. So let's say I'm creating a simple scene with top-down shot and this one over the top of it, something like that. So then if I was to create another scene, and what I'll actually do is I'm demoing something here and I've done it completely the wrong way around. What I should have done is gone into this one and used the placeholder cameras. So the point about this is, maybe I could just skip over that and pretend I meant to do that. The thing about this is, if I was using a couple of cam links or something like that, and then these cameras got switched up because they were, sometimes the Mac sort of forgets which camera was which, then it's going to put these two in the maybe the wrong place. Or if you're building out a scene for somebody else, so say you're actually creating a scene for like a whole run of show, or a whole show, sorry, for somebody. Either it might be a co-producer or something like that, where one of you is building it and one of you is then running the show, or maybe you're offering this as a service to actually build out, design and build scenes for people. Then what would happen before is, if you've got lots of scenes, I mean, you can see just how many scenes I use here for Take One Tech. I've got a load in different folders as well, specifically for this. So if something were to happen where, one of my cameras would be switched with another one, in terms of the Mac just not recognizing which cam link was which, or if I wanted to build out something like this for somebody else, they would have to then go through every single scene and actually change the camera. So say that this shouldn't be a top-down shot for the other person. Maybe it should be, a different camera angle or something like that. Maybe this one. Then they would have to go through and manually change that in all of their scenes. Whereas if we do this instead using placeholder cameras, we can just get rid of these. Look at that. It now looks like I meant to do that. And we just drop in these placeholder cameras. So say camera B is going to be here, and camera A is going to be over here, like this. Then what we can do is, when you've been out and built all of your, 2, 3, 5, 50 scenes or whatever it is, and you've sent this over to your co-producer, then all they need to do is come into this camera switcher and into the A/B source here, and then they can just select like which camera they want to go in that place. So maybe this one in the top corner is a different camera, and maybe this one should be this one. Where has it gone? Here. It looked like I didn't add that one into the scene. Let me try that again. I'm making a bit of a hash of this, but don't tell anyone. There we go. If I put that one back up to the top. So you can see here in the scenes, it actually makes a lot more sense. You've got camera A, camera B, but actually, although there is usually just camera A and B is in this placeholder camera section to begin with, you can just keep going and adding more. So it's up to you how many placeholder cameras you want to define. So you could add as many as you want in here. And then you can just go and add those into all your scenes. And then, as I say, the person you send it to, you just then have to instruct them, okay, camera A is your main shot. Camera B is, you know, the one from the side, perhaps. Camera C is maybe of your guest. Camera D is maybe a top-down shot, whatever it is. You can build out all of these complex scenes, and then the person that you send this to, all they have to do is just literally go and select which camera they want, and then it will sort of propagate through all of the different scenes. So I think that that is a really, really useful feature to have. Hey, Eileen, great to see you here. And hey, Greg, great to see you too. Need more zoom. Was I not zoomed in enough? Maybe I'll have to try and work on that. The one that I did in my other thing, which bit was it that I wasn't zoomed in on enough? Was it the detail on the thing, or had I just zoomed in too much? I can never tell. Sarcasm's difficult to get over and things. So the camera switcher there, let me just zoom in on that just a little bit more if I wasn't fully zoomed in on it. Because the point that you need to just note with this camera switcher is placeholder cameras. So when you open the camera switcher up, this one, all sources, is going to show you all of your cameras. The A/B one is the placeholder cameras. So this camera A, B, and C are the ones that you're going to want to be using for those placeholder cameras. Incidentally, if I get my preferences up again, that's fully zoomed out. Where's my Ecamm preferences? What you'll notice as well is these placeholder cameras, A and B here, those relate directly to the recording and the recording isolated video. So when you're recording isolated video, you're selecting basically camera A and camera B. And what you'll notice is it does actually tell you which one it is. So I've got two different capture cards actually, so they don't get confused. But the CamLink 4K there and the Livestreamer Cap 4K is a different capture card. But that's basically relating to what I've got selected as that camera. So if I select this other camera, for example, so I'll change that to this one, you'll notice how it changes in there as well. So it does actually tell you, you know, you can be sure sort of which one that you are indeed capturing. So that is the recording, that is the camera switcher and how that relates to the ISO. One thing about ISO then is, and that's another sort of headline feature, I won't go too much into it, other than it is just two cameras of your sort of the ones that are linked to your computer that you can record, and then your interview guests. I think I said in the previous live stream that I said about the features that I was looking forward to, I think it was not last week, but the week before in 4.0, I mentioned that interview guests were coming in at 1080p. It's actually, the feed might be 1080p, but the ISO recording is only 720 for interview guests. So that is just another thing to be aware of, is that the ISO guest recording is still 720. And that's just going to be because obviously it's quite a processor in heavy task to be encoding yet another feed. So there's a big difference between 720 and 1080 in terms of, you know, file size and encoding job that it needs to do. So that was a little error that I made in my previous live stream just about this. Let me come back to my main scene for a second. So the other thing about it is, as I say, it is only two cameras, although those are going to be 1080p for your camera A and camera B recording, and that's regardless of what you've got your stream size set to. So if you have got your stream size set to 4K, you are still going to record that in 4K. It's just these ISO videos. And I'm sure, you know, as we get better, faster processors, then that's something that's maybe increased in the future. There was the reason for my confusion is we did have a way of testing this. So we were testing with 1080p in our little moderator group. And so we were able to record that way. So I got a little bit confused. But anyway, so that is the couple of my sort of favorite things about the camera switcher in particular and how I'm using that. Next, I just want to mention my Ecamm Live masterclass. So if you are using Ecamm Live and you want to understand everything, how to use it and other things associated with it. So how to do things like these on-screen graphics. I've got quite a few questions actually of people asking me how I did this particular thing in Ecamm. So that's just done with Keynote, but I've got a whole section in the Ecamm Live Masterclass about how to use Keynote and create immersive online presentations using Ecamm. So the Ecamm Live Masterclass is not just Ecamm, but it's the other things around it, and a whole sort of series of tutorials on using Stream Deck, how to use that effectively as well. It was my intention that this would all be updated, ready for the release of Ecamm 4, but I'm still in the process of uploading some videos, so it'll be updated in maybe a day, 2 days at a time. So had some major technical issues over the past couple of days, but anyway, I won't bore you with those. But ecammlivemasterclass.com, once you sign up, you get lifetime access, and that includes any updates. So all of those updates for 4.0 will be in here, and then when 4.1, 4.2, 5 come out, that will all be updated as well. So the idea is it's basically your online encyclopedia for all things Ecamm Live, and broken down into small bite-sized chunks as well. So you can always just go and find the exact little thing that you want to learn how to do or refresh your memory on how to do. So that is the Ecamm Live Masterclass. Go and check that out, ecammlivemasterclass.com. The next thing then that I want to talk about is widget overlays, because as I say, not necessarily one of my favorite features, although there is a couple of points to make about it, which is that previously widget overlays were only for people on the Pro plan, whereas now it is just available to everyone, regardless of the plan you're on. It's also not dependent on whether you're on Intel Mac or a Apple Silicon. So things that are processor heavy, like ISO recording, for example, like the increase from 4 to 10 interview guests, those are all dependent on you having Apple Silicon Mac, whereas the things that I've talked about so far are just work on any plan, any Mac as well. Well, I say any Mac, maybe not a 20-year-old one, but you get the point. So yeah, in terms of the widget overlays then, the main thing that has been added into this is the ability to actually interact with it. So if I just get a video up, I should have been a little bit more prepared. Let me go to my YouTube channel and I'll take one of my videos so that I don't get into trouble. But what I'll do is I'll just grab a URL for a video and I'll show you how to do this. As I say, I did demo this, but I was on a 4K display and I didn't zoom in at all. So it was obviously a little bit on the on the small side to see. So maybe you didn't see the actual detail of it. So just bear with me one sec. I'll get a video up. Why not play the video from the other day? I'll just hit pause on this. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is, and let me try and do this a bit more zoomed in. I've got a video here, and I'm just going to take the URL for this video. I'm going to copy this URL, and then I can move this out of the way. And then now I shall zoom in to this screen a little bit more. So we're talking about widget overlays, and so they are just down here. So this one just down at the bottom corner. I beg your pardon. This one up here. Get it right, Alec. This one, new, where's it gone? This one, new widget overlay. I'm not thinking straight. Ever the professional. Click on that, and it's going to pop up this box, allowing you to add a widget overlay. So here, this is for things like, like my buy me a coffee link, for example, if somebody buys me a coffee on the live stream. This is not a hint, by the way, but I've got a little widget overlay that pops up that will, pop onto the screen. And so they're used for that sort of stuff. I also have for like super chats, subscribers, new channel members and stuff like that. That will pop up during the live stream if that happens. They're triggered by events. So typically, I think overlay widgets have been used for these kind of things. You can also use what's it called? There's a service called Uno, I think, something like that, which allows you to have somebody else basically adding widgets or adding things onto your screen. I've got to do a video about that service, by the way, but it basically means like if you're doing things with, I don't know, sports scores or things like that, or just general overlays, you can create them in Uno. It's run online in a browser, so anybody else anywhere else in the world can be controlling it, and then it will be putting that information onto your screen by using these widget overlays. But you can just simply add in a URL here as well of anything. So if I add in a URL of a YouTube video, for example, it's going to default to this size, so 1280 by 720. I'll come back to these three options in a moment, but if I just click Add Widget Overlay, now you'll have to bear with me, maybe the audio is going to come through this straight away. But if I click on Add Widget Overlay, it should load up that video, or rather, it should load up that YouTube page. Now, let me just switch this on and see if I can pause it in time. I'm going to switch that off. So the thing that is really different about this though is previously widget overlays, you could do this before, however, there was no control over it. Whereas now what we've got is the ability to actually interact, and it's this option just down here. What's happening? Something's frozen up on my computer. There we go. It's this option just down here, this one with a little picture of a hand with a finger, and you can toggle this one on and off. When you've got it toggled on, it means that you can actually interact with that video or whatever. So now you can see that now I've got that switched on. I'm actually controlling the overlay itself. So I can click in here to play. I can pause the video like that. For some reason, it's going really slow. Not quite sure what's going on there. That's not Ecamm. That is my computer and my network. But here you can see that I'm basically being able to interact with it. So if I click on the pause there, it's going to pause. So another thing that you might do with this is, if I can get out of here for a second. Got some issues on my computer at the moment. Let me try this a different way. There we go. I'll come back to that. I'll just hide that for a second. It's something. It's my processor's maxing out. You can, Eileen, use a screen share to a website, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So if I come into here, and I'll just go to my website, and I'll just copy that from here. And so then I would just do exactly the same thing. If I come into here, I'll add in a screen share. Something is taking up. This is the issue. I thought I'd solve this problem. Something is taking up. If you look at right up at the top there, 100% processor. Something is chewing up my processor because it shouldn't be doing quite this much. But yeah, Eileen, if you click on this one again, and then if I was to just load in a web page, like this, and then add widget overlay. Then it is just going to show a website. And the thing that you've got then is, if I zoom in again, now if I go to, say, interact, so I'm going to click that to interact. And then let's say I go to my store, where you can find my courses, things like that. But you do have this back button now. So you've got the forward and back button there, and then you've got the reload button. So basically, you can actually just embed a website in this way and then navigate it that way. So it is a really interesting feature, or a really useful feature, and it's especially useful if you are using if you're wanting to demonstrate websites and things like that, but then it's you maybe got the screen real estate for them. So it just means it's embedded in the scene like that. I just heard a notification going off in the background, but I think I missed it because something was covering up. So I'm not quite sure what that was, but it sounded like maybe my buy me a coffee links. If someone's just bought me a coffee, thank you very much. I think I had inadvertently covered up my own widget talking about widgets. The irony. But anyway, so that is widget overlays. And as I say, it's not necessarily one of the things that is like my headline features, because I tend to do screen sharing because I've just got, as you can see, a bit of a large screen to be able to put all of this stuff on, and just be able to share stuff sort of ad hoc, if you like. But yeah, I think it is really useful to be able to have these web pages embedded like that. And even if it's just a static web page, it means that, yeah, if you just want to have it, you know, if you just want to grab a screenshot of a web page, well, you can actually just add it in that way. The other thing I should mention, whilst we are on that, if I just bring up my that YouTube widget that I had up there, I just need to pause this again, and then I'll zoom into it a little bit. The thing that I mentioned about those other options, if I click on the settings for that widget, these ones here, high resolution mode, keep running, and fill entire frame. If you select fill entire frame, let me just turn off the audio. There we go. There we go. It was starting to play in the background. If I select fill entire frame, that's basically going to fill the whole of your screen with, or not the whole of the screen, the whole of the Ecamm screen though, with the widget. So if you are playing a video or something like that, that may be something that you want. So it's going to just actually play it full screen. The other thing is, if you want to have a video where it's you can play and pause it, and you want to go to another scene, and then you want to come back to that scene again, then you want to select that keep running, because otherwise, what will happen is if I switch to another scene now and come back to this scene, then this video will just start playing again from the beginning. So whereas if you come over to the widget, just like that. Then if you come over to here and select keep running, then basically if you switch to a different scene and then come back to this scene, then it will pick up sort of where it left off. One thing to bear in mind with this is it is just taking the web widget from the internet. So the web page in this case, from the internet. So if you are using, like I use YouTube Premium, obviously. However, I can't be logged into YouTube actually in here. So it's just going to take it with the web. And so there you could see it's got that. Ecamm Live 4.0 has it had that ad that played. However, what you can do is if you have that keep running selected, then you can sort of queue up the video in advance, and then it would just start from the beginning. The other thing that you can obviously do is use the option key and then just crop into a particular area of the screen. So I am still interacting with this. So what you probably want to do is go up to the top, and I will just stop. Oh, where am I now? I'm interacting too much with it. My it's having a bit of a meltdown. I see a Mac Studio on my my list of studio updates in the near future. You get the idea, though. You can just sort of crop into that. So you could crop into the video area. There we go. Just something like that. I'll stop scrolling around. But yeah, so you can crop into the video and then use it like that. I'll just gloss over the technical issues today. Hello, transplant helper. What's your name, by the way, just so that I can address you properly? I'm glad you've found the videos useful, though, and hopefully learning a bit more from this one. Hopefully how not to make a presentation, because I'm making a bit of a hash of it, but don't tell anyone. So that was the sort of next major feature, was the widget overlays, and just one I wanted to touch on because, yeah, I didn't do a great job of explaining that previously. The final thing, though, that I want to talk about is specifically the Stream Deck updates, and I suppose also the Loop Deck updates as well. Although, as I mentioned, I've got tired of Loop Deck, so I finally just removed it from my desk. It is now a fully functional doorstop. Hey, Jim, great to see you. Great to have you here, Jim. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, it is these Stream Deck implementations and updates, and I suppose it's kind of linked to one of the core features in any case, which is the timestamp feature that have been added in. So first of all, I'll just say that this is something you can do without Stream Deck. So if I come into my screen share here, and if you go into recording, whilst you are recording, you've got this option to add marker. And add marker with info. If I click add marker, what you'll see down here on my screen, when I click that, it says marker added. And so it's now basically added a timestamp into a text file. So at the end of the live stream, I will get as well as the recording, as well as any ISO video, ISO audio recordings, I'll also get a text file that will have a series of timestamps, and it'll start with 00:00 start, and then any other times throughout the live stream that I hit that button. So like now we're at, what are we, 30 minutes in, something like that. So if I hit the add marker, I'll just get a text file at the end that will say whatever that time was. And that's useful if you are just on a live stream and you want to, if I say any pearls of wisdom, which is not happening today, and when you press the button, you could say, if you wanted to go back and clip something out, for example, or you wanted to remember a particular point, you could just drop that in. But the really useful one, though, is in the recording here, you've got the option to add marker with info. And if I click that one, it actually comes up here with add marker, and I can give it a name. So this might be, I could just call it whatever it is, whatever the chapter is, chapter 3, and then click that and add it, or just obviously the name of the section or whatever. And in fact, that is ridiculous. I wouldn't call it chapter 3, but I'm just mean like if in the YouTube video, I want to put my timestamps along the bottom, and here is where I'm talking about Ecamm Live chapter markers. I can type. I can never type and stream at the same time. like that, and click add. Now I'm actually in that text file. I will get a timestamp with the time and then that title. So it's actually really useful for going through and putting timestamps into your videos. Obviously, you're not going to stop and sit and type it out during the live stream though. So that's where the Stream Deck button I think is really useful. So if I share my Stream Deck screen for a second, hopefully this should work a little bit better than my full screen sharing, he says. Where's it gone now? And no, it's not. Hang on a minute. Where are we? This one. Okay, so in Stream Deck, in the Ecamm Live plugin, I say this every time. I've got to say it again. There are so many buttons in here related to Ecamm. They've just done such a good job of implementing, you know, anything you could pretty much want to do in Ecamm, you can do with Stream Deck. But it's this one here is the new one that was added in. This add marker. And so if you drop that on here, then you can, first of all, just use it to add a marker, just like I've shown you, where it just puts in the time. But if you want to create chapter markers specifically, then you can go ahead and add that text in there. So Ecamm Live, what's it called? Timestamp feature, like that. And so if you're setting these things up ahead of time, then you can create your entire run of show so that as you're going through the live stream, you can just hit this and it will put in that timestamp. So that is just really, really handy to be able to do those. And that's what I do in advance with things like well, this one, for example. So if I hit this one, if you want to book a consultation to talk about anything related to Ecamm, look at this, my Stream Deck. Hang on a minute. My tech issues continue today. Everything is not working today for me. I pulled out everything from my studio yesterday and I've put it all back together and it was working. I think this is my my computer issue. Let me try that again, shall I? See if that works this time. No, it's not going to work for me. How ridiculous. But here we can see this one, which is, my little call to action to book a consultation. So I have a little pop out that pops out on screen. And so here you can see I've got it playing an animation and posting a comment. But what I could do is to use this marker feature. Let's say I was going to talk about my my Ecamm Live masterclass, for example, which I did previously. What I could do is I could switch scene in here. So if I go to create new multi-action, sometimes the tech demos don't go right. If I go to the multi-action and let's say run scene, and I do actually have a scene in Ecamm which is specifically for my masterclass. Look at that, my Stream Deck is not connecting. That is weird. It was fine up until a couple of moments ago, and now my Stream Deck is not connecting. Right, you just have to bear with me. You just have to trust me on this one. So run scene. I could run my scene that I have for showing my Ecamm Live masterclass. I've got a whole scene for that. Then I could come down here and click add marker, and then at the marker I could give it the name of Ecamm masterclass or something like that. And then what I could do is I could also go to this one to post comment. And then I could, in here, I could put a comment saying, you know, check out the masterclass at Take One Tech. I beg your pardon, at ecammlivemasterclass.com. So you could add that in. And so that is a multi-action. And so then what's going to happen is when I press that button, it's going to switch to the relevant scene. It's going to post the link in, and then it's also going to add in that timestamp. And so if you've got a series of scenes set up with, you know, different titles and things like that, then you'd be able to just go through and basically press one after the other, and you'd have your entire video timestamped, your entire live stream timestamped, and it would be doing that thing of posting those comments. And in fact, that is another new feature was this one here, which was post comments. So previously you've had show and hide comments. Well, now you've also got the option to post a comment as well. And so if I come here, click on post comment, then you can see that you can select what you want to type in there. And so, yeah, you can have that for, so if you've got stuff, you know, check out my website, whatever you might want to post in your live stream, links to affiliate links. If you're talking about a particular product or something like that you're going to talk about in your run of show, in your live stream, you could have your, you know, link to your affiliate link to the product on Amazon or whatever it happens to be. I'm sure you can think of reasons why you might want to have predefined comments. I'm sure Mr. Moderator, Paul, in the chat has a whole load of these set up, because when he's on a live stream, you know, like in the Ecamm group and things like that, these buttons are just being pressed and stuff's just appearing in the chat. So yeah, it's really, really useful to have these sorts of things. Although actually, no, I take that back, because this is, you have to be running the show, as it were. So it has to be your stream. So he's probably not using this feature. But anyway, you get the idea though. So that is another really great feature, is this the Stream Deck. Incidentally, there's a couple of other things that I do with multi-actions in Ecamm, so we'll just mention those. This is not a 4.0 thing at all, but I do use multi-actions, and one of the ones I use is this button just up here. So although all of my videos generally are done in one take, although I have to say that 1.5 hour Ecamm 4 update video, I did end up doing a minor editing, chopping out some bits where my computer melted down a couple of times during it. But generally what I do is I just record these videos for my channel. I hit record them, and then that's it, it's done. So although it's generally one take, it's not necessarily the first take. And so the channel name's a bit, it's more like one take tech rather than take one tech. But any case, what usually happens is I often just completely screw up the intro. And so I think, oh, I just need to start that again. So usually it's the first 2 to 10 seconds that I often start again. And so what I did is I created this multi-action, because in Ecamm, if you press the end button, you know, the button to stop recording, then what you get is that you get that little pop-up on screen, and then you have to dismiss that. Now, what you may not know is that the record button in Ecamm Live, so it's called Go Live and Finish, and if you add it onto here, I won't press it now, but you can see how it says Go Live. I'm not connecting to Ecamm for some reason with my Stream Deck. It's to do with my dock. As I say, I've probably got it plugged into the wrong hub or something. But this button here, when you are not streaming, then it's going to say, oh, sorry, if you're set to live stream, it will say Go Live. If you've got Ecamm set to record rather than live stream, it will say record. And if you are recording, it will say end, to actually end the live stream. That button, though, will also dismiss that little pop-up that comes up. So, you know, when you finish recording in Ecamm, you get that window that pops up on screen which says view file in folder, in Finder, post to YouTube. And now the other thing that we've got added in this version is also send to Descript. So that little window that pops up on the screen, actually, if you hit the record button, again, this button, it will dismiss that pop-up. So because, as I say, I start recording and then I think I just want to start this thing over again, what I did was I created this multi-action that's basically just 3 actions, and you can see what I've got there. It's basically hits the record button, which stops the recording, and then it's got a delay of 2 seconds, which gives it time to stop recording, process the recording, and for that little window to pop up on the screen on Ecamm, and then you press it again, and then it presses the record button again to clear that off the screen. So basically, that little multi-action means that if I'm start recording and then I think, no, scrap it, I'm going to start again, I just press that button and it just does everything to dismiss the pop-ups and all that kind of stuff. It's only a little thing, but it just saves me a couple of presses and I find it a little bit more efficient. So that is just another little way that I use multi-actions on here. Lots of other different multi-action things that I use in Stream Deck. I'll be doing a whole series of videos to update my Stream Deck videos, because there's quite a few things that have changed in Stream Deck since I've been making videos about it. So that is all to come. And now I'm just trying to change scenes with Stream Deck again, and once again, it's not quite working. I've got quite a few technical difficulties today, in case it didn't show. So with that, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up, because those are basically 4 sort of standout features that I just wanted to touch on and go into a little bit more depth, and in some cases, just literally zoom in on. Let me just check. If you've got any other questions about Ecamm, do feel free to let them come in. And indeed, take 3, take 4, who's counting? Yeah, if you've got any other questions though about Ecamm 4, then drop them in the chat, or if you don't drop them in the chat, feel free to pop into my Discord server as well. So takeonetech.io/family. You can pop in there and then get any questions answered in there. You can bet there are going to be a whole series more videos about Ecamm. I did want to do my 4.0 update, the video I released yesterday, as you know, a complete update of all of the new features, but I will be diving into more detail in some of them into specific standalone videos, and ideally when I don't have quite so many tech issues. Thanks though for stopping by and joining the live stream. I'll keep this one short and sweet, and hope you all have a fabulous day and enjoy Ecamm 4. Let me know in the comments though what your favorite feature is as well, and yeah, have a great time everyone, and I'll catch you later. And what I need to do now is I need to say, I'll leave some Ecamm videos over here for the people watching on the replay. And thanks as ever to my channel members for keeping my nan lights buzzing. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.